I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river, I've got peace like a river in my soul. See you later.
Welcome, boys and girls. Thank you for joining us for our Sunday school lesson. I hope we have fun learning about Joseph and his dreams, or Pharaoh's dreams. So before we start that, though, I wonder if you remember 3 weeks ago, we talked about Joseph's big family, and I asked you to write about your family, a narrative telling about you and your family. And you send it in, I would read it. So one person sent the narrative in, and I received it, and so I'm going to read it now. It's from Ben Fiddler, and this is his writing. I have it online, and it says, "My family is the Fiddler family. It's just me, Mom, and Dad, and we love to play games and go swimming." That must be a lot of fun. And thank you, Ben, for taking on that assignment and sending it into the church. And I really enjoyed reading it. Today, when we get ready to learn about Joseph and his time in Egypt, we find that it was a very difficult time. A lot of things were going on, and he was in prison. So what I would like for you to do is open up if you have this Deep Blue Kids Bible, this one here, we're going to just look at it. We're not going to read it all together. You can read it later if you'd like. That would be a good idea. But it's on page 48, 49, and 50. So on page 48, it starts telling about these weird dreams that Pharaoh was having. And I wonder, have you ever had dreams and you wondered what they were about? Well, some of them are a little scary and disconcerting, and others are just plain crazy and funny. But Pharaoh's dreams meant something, and he felt that they did, and he was so confused. And his dreams sort of went like this. He was standing near the Nile River, and all of a sudden, seven fat cows walked up on the shoreline and was eating blades of grass and things that were growing there. And then 7 skinny cows came up out of the river, stood beside them, and devoured them. Well, that was pretty weird. So he woke up and he thought, what on earth? And then he fell back asleep, and he had another dream. Well, the second dream, it said 7 great healthy ears of grain grew on this one plant. And then 7 really skinny, not very full grains came up and stood beside them. And lo and behold, they devoured those healthy, nice grains. And Pharaoh woke up again and he thought, wow, I know these mean something. So I'm going to have to go and call in all of the experts and religious leaders to see if maybe they can help interpret these dreams. Well, it turned out they had no clue. But one fella, do you remember them talking about the wine steward? They call it a little different. There's a wine steward, the cup handler or something. But he had had dreams. He'd been thrown in prison with Joseph, and Joseph told him exactly what was going to happen, and those things did happen. So he said, I know this Hebrew guy that is in your prison, and he can help you with his dreams. So the Pharaoh sent the cup guy to go get Joseph and bring him to him at once. Well, he came to him and listened to the dreams about the cows, the 7 cows, of 2 fat and skinny, and then the grain. And Joseph said to him, you know, this is a story of God telling you what's going to happen. And it's going to happen in the land of Egypt. And he said, what would be is you're going to have 7 years of the grains and the crops, and everything's going to grow. There'll be lots of rain, wonderful weather, which was good news. But the skinny cows and the skinny grain meant, they were the same dream, he said, but they meant after that 7 years, it would be 7 years of drought and famine, and food would just be almost impossible to gather up. So Joseph told Pharaoh that he needed to have a plan. He needed to plan to gather at least 1/5 of all the grain that was growing in the next 7 years and build huge buildings to store them in, so that, you know, they would have all this extra. They didn't need it through the 7 years. They'd have it then to dole out to the people as they needed it because of the famine. So, goodness, the Pharaoh was so impressed with Joseph, and he said, you know what, I am really going to need someone to manage this for me. And of course, as you could guess, he chose Joseph to be the second in command. And Joseph was so honored, and he said, thank you, I will do my very best. And he also told the Pharaoh that it wasn't his ability, it was all God, that God had given him these talents, and that he was able to do these things because of the gift that God had given him. So the Pharaoh was so impressed and knew he was representing God and would do a good job. So he made him second in command, and he did all these things that made it so possible for the people to, and the people loved him because he was just so good to everyone. So when the 7 years of drought came, everything was okay. They had more food than they needed. They even shared with other countries around Egypt. So 2 lessons, and then we're going to learn more about this. But first, I want you to think about one lesson in particular that this story teaches, and it's humility. And Joseph was so humble that he never gave himself credit for all these things he could do. He said, it's not me, it's God. God has given me these talents, and I'm just so happy to be able to use them to help. So at this point, I want to think a minute. What are your talents? Do you have some special talents that you think you could use to help people, or that you're just really pleased with? Well, here are some examples. God gave us talents. Some have music, some can build things, others can work on the computer, and you're an artist, you can draw, and oh, how art makes people happy when they see beautiful pictures. You can care for each other, take care of children. Oh, singing, boy, I didn't get that one, but singing is such a talent. Being able to organize and think and plan, All of these things can be used to help your community. And again, when we have these talents, we don't say, hey, look at me, I am so talented. We want to be humble and just thank God that we have talents we can share with others. So in the video, you're going to see this story told again, and I want you to pay attention to what kind of person Joseph is and how humble and helpful that he comes across to all the people he's with. So if you will just wait a couple seconds, you will see the video begin of Joseph and Pharaoh's dreams.
The Pharaoh of Egypt was having bad dreams which were waking him up at night. He talked to his ministers and wise men of the court, describing his dream. But nobody could explain what the dream meant. One of the Pharaoh's servants, a cupbearer, heard of this. One day in court, while the Pharaoh sat with a worried look on his face, the cupbearer spoke to him.
Your Majesty, I have heard that you are having bad dreams that are bothering you.
Yes, indeed. It is true. I cannot sleep. This dream has destroyed my peace.
Your Majesty, I know of somebody who can help you. He can interpret dreams. It is really amazing.
Really? Why didn't you tell me before?
Well, Your Majesty, he's actually in your prison. He claims he has committed no crime and that somebody cheated on him.
I see. I need him brought to the palace immediately. And so the guards took Joseph out of the dungeon and led him to the palace to be seen by the Pharaoh. Ah, yes. The prisoner with the power to explain dreams. Fascinating. My cupbearer here tells me you have some strange talents, that you have the power to understand the dreams of other people. Is that true?
My God has all the powers. He simply speaks through me. I just like to help people in any way I can. That is all, Your Majesty.
Interesting. Can you explain me a dream if I describe it to you?
I can try, Your Majesty.
Very well then. I will describe my dream to you. See what you make of it. In my dream, I am standing at the banks of the river Nile. I am looking at the river when suddenly 7 beautiful, healthy cows emerge from the river and start grazing on the banks of the river. Soon after, 7 ugly, skinny cows step out from the river and devour the 7 healthy cows whole. This is the dream that I've been having night after night.
How long have you been having this dream?
More than 10 days at least.
This is a very special dream, Your Majesty. God has sent you a warning of a famine that will last 7 years. Nothing will grow, and everything will die in this famine.
Oh my God! What can we do now?
He also says that before the 7 years of famine, you will have 7 years of plenty and prosperity. You have been given a chance to prepare for the famine in these 7 years. So if you spend carefully and store up grains during these 7 years, you will be safe.
This is fantastic news indeed, my boy. You have brought me back my peace of mind.
It is all the work of my God. I am simply blessed.
Guards, I want this boy to be released from prison immediately. He will stay with me in the palace and will work with me as my personal advisor. Joseph, you will be in charge of building storages and our preparation for the famine in these next 7 years.
I am truly blessed, Your Majesty. Thank you for your kindness. I will serve you and the kingdom of Egypt for the best of my ability."
And so Joseph stayed with the Pharaoh in his palace and was his most trusted official and advisor. He supervised the building of storage houses and helped the farmers grow more grains in a shorter time span. As a result, the people of the kingdom loved him, and he was highly respected by all who met him. After the 7 years of plenty, finally the famine came, just as Joseph had said. But they were all stocked up on grain and had plenty to eat. In fact, they had so much grain they were giving it out to people who needed it outside the kingdom. The Pharaoh was very pleased with Joseph's work and made him the governor of Egypt, second only to the Pharaoh himself. And so Joseph established himself as the most influential and respected person in the palace of the Pharaoh.
Wasn't that an interesting story and very easy to understand? Were you surprised that the Pharaoh took immediately to Joseph and trusted what he had to say? I guess he knew that he was a person with God's influence, and so he listened to Joseph and did just what he said. In fact, were you surprised he was made second in command to him? That was a pretty high standing. Well, and then let's see, what was that? Joseph saw that he had God-given gifts, and that was what made it really possible. But weren't you impressed with how humble Joseph was and how he wanted to do his best and always gave God the credit? So that's what we need to do with our talents. The next thing I want us to look at, remember I said there are a lot of lessons we can learn from this story. The first was humility, and the second one is, of course, Joseph was so helpful. I mean, he helped save the whole country. So let's think a bit about charity. And you know what charity means. It means giving to people in need, giving out of love and service and concern. And in your little leaflet that you're going to receive, there's a whole page on charity. What are some charities that our church, our Christ Church United Methodist is already doing? Here it shows a picture of helping the homeless. We do that. Contributing to the food bank, which provides food for soup kitchens and meals and just people coming to pick up bags of food. So that's a very important service. Let's see. And then it says volunteering. You know, we have people in our church who help build ramps and redo porches and all kinds of things for people. And that's a service, helping to rebuild their homes. But we also, like I may have said, we have donation centers where we can send money, or we can send food items or clothing items that are given to people in need. And so we know, and there are a lot of others, but we know that in Egypt, when those bad times came, that there are a lot of people in need. Well, when we look at our time now, we have the pandemic, and so we have so many people losing their jobs, don't have enough money to buy food or clothing or provide things they need. And on the news the other night, I don't know whether you saw it or not, but it showed this young teenager who loved to build things. So he decided he was going to build desks for children who are having to study from home because they need a place to put their computer and all their work. Well, he started this program of building desks, and many, many people came in to help him. He just started this big movement. Lots of money came in to buy these, buy the material. So one little boy, they talked to him. They said, they gave him a desk. He said, "What do you think about this desk?" He said, "Oh, I'm so happy I have a place to study and I can keep my computer here And his mom said, and he doesn't have to move it from the kitchen to another room to another room. It's always there. And this was such a wonderful gift. And they asked the young man, how do you feel about doing all this for people? And he said, it's the best feeling on earth. He said, I am just so happy I have a talent and I can share and help people. So that was my favorite story about talents right now and being charitable. So let's think about the story a little more. This is a story in the book of Genesis, which is the first book in the Bible. And I did a silly thing to try to help us remember. And we have acronyms, which is where we take a word and then we put it together to describe or remember all the things we need to remember. So this is my nonsense acronym. It's called GELND. Does that sound like anything? Can we do a nonsense sound out of that? Gelland. That's sort of a word, don't you think? Gelland. Well, if you spell it, it's GELND. So what's the first book? G, Genesis. E, Exodus, GEL. L is Leviticus. N, GELN, Numbers. And D is Deuteronomy. And those 5 books are all about instructions of how people should live if they were going to be the people of God. So let's go over it again. We'll do it more than once. It's Gelland. Can you say that word? Gelland. GELND. And then the books are kind of difficult to remember, but this will help you. G, Genesis. GE, Exodus. L, Leviticus. N, Numbers. And D is Deuteronomy. So no hurry, but we will learn those in due time. And remember, those are the books of instruction of how people should live. Well, I have a craft for you that I thought was fun. I wanted to have it here, but I don't. Okay, it's the fat cow, isn't he cute? And the skinny cow. He doesn't look too skinny, but he's skinnier than this guy. The fat cow and the skinny cow. Now, the way you make these, and you'll have the pattern. This is what the pattern looks like. And then you'll have the instructions, and I'll just go briefly over them. To make the skinny cow, you take a paper plate. You fold it in half. The skinny cow, you fold it in half. Now, it says to glue it, but I tell you what, I think stapling is just much more secure. So I took it, folded it in half, and stapled it around the edge. And then I colored my pieces, the legs and the head and the tail. I colored those, and then I glued them to the back of a piece of construction paper to make them more secure. So if you see the back, that's construction paper. And see, they're not so floppy. So I colored him, I stapled him, his legs and everything together. You go by the instruction, his head, and then you have to color the black marks on his body. So this is the big fat cow. This is this. I was doing the skinny cow, sorry. Here's the skinny cow, and then the fat cow, you take 2 plates, 1, 2, you fold them down just about 2 inches, 2 of them down 2 inches, like this, 2 of them. You put them together like this, staple them, see there's 2 there, staple them together, and then you take your pattern, take all these pieces I showed you, color them, glue them onto something, cut them out, glue or staple them onto the paper plate, and there's your fat cow. Have fun. I know this is a fun project, and I love art, and it makes the day fun. So our Bible verse then is on the leaflet that you will receive This is where all the charity ideas are. And back here is the Bible verse that we've been talking about for 3 weeks, and I'm going to read it to you. I know the plans I have in mind for you, declared the Lord. They are plans for peace, not disaster, to give you a future filled with hope. And that really is encouraging to us today, because we see so many disasters that kind of make us really sad. So we know in due time and in God's grace that things will turn out and we can have hope for a better day. But this is our Bible verse, and we want to remember it. And now, if you will bow your head, we'll say our closing prayer. Dear God, we thank you for making us and giving us special talents so that we can do what you created us for. Help us to discover what these abilities are so that we can help in every way we can to make this world a better place to live. Thank you for joining us. See you next week. Amen. So, I hope you enjoyed today. Thanks for joining us, and I'll say goodbye. See you.
I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. See you later.